Great. So this evening, I'm going to talk about the power of birth and wood energy, and also a little bit about Chinese, the extraordinary vessels of Chinese medicine. And although I'm primarily going to talk about childbirth, the energies of birth are not existing in isolation. And so we have been prepared for birth both by our menstrual cycle, especially the menstrual phase of the menstrual cycle, the releasing, the letting go, but also by sex, by the opening up that happens in sex. And even if we don't have children, we can experience these kind of releasing. So I'm going to talk about birth, and then I'm going to do a movement practice, which gives you an opportunity to see how you can connect directly with these energies, and then finish with a short breathing and visualization, which actually is something that you could even include with the movements, but I'm going to do it separately so that you can really tune into that. So yes, birth. Birth can be releasing anything, but the time in a woman's life when her body most opens up physically is during childbirth. And after the end of the menstrual cycle, it's quite important, though, to keep these energies flowing, because we no longer have this opening up. And so it's actually quite easy for energies to get stuck. And so the main area that opens up is, of course, our whole pelvic area and our perineum. And in Chinese medicine, this is the area of the girdle vessel. And so the girdle vessel, as you can see in this diagram that I'm showing, is the top, or the top part is under the ribs, and the bottom part is the pelvic floor. So it's really quite a big area that we're looking at. I want to talk more generally first about birth, or about that release process. Childbirth is the time that we most physically open up, but it's not just a physical opening up, or hopefully it isn't just a physical opening up. We open up our heart, and we open up into space. We open up our whole being. And in order to do that, we need to feel safe, and we need to feel loved. And physically, what's happening during the process of birth, but also through sex, is there's an increase in one of the hormones in our body called oxytocin. And actually, a famous French obstetrician who was one of the pioneers of natural childbirth, or of going back to really what childbirth was originally, before there was lots of intervention, Michel Odent, talked a lot about oxytocin. And I wanted to mention him this evening because he sadly passed away in August, aged 95, and he did a lot of really important work of understanding the importance of safety and love, and of allowing a woman to find her own rhythm during birth. And I always liked how he used to make the connection between sex and birth through the hormone oxytocin, which he called the love hormone, the hormone of love. So love is really important during birth, that we feel loved, and therefore then we can love our baby. And he would say, well, it's not surprising that women find it difficult to give birth, because if you put a woman on her back on a bed with lots of bright lights around her, and you're kind of prodding and poking her, and there are lots of people that the woman doesn't know, so she doesn't feel particularly safe, and then you're saying to her, have an orgasm, it probably wouldn't be very conducive to that. And as it's the same energies in a way, in lots of ways, then that's also not going to be helpful for women during birth either. Because giving birth is actually taking us back to a very primitive aspect of our being. And if we are able to give birth naturally, we need to be able to fully open up on all levels of our being. And feeling safe and feeling loved are really quite key elements. Different women feel safe in different ways and feel loved in different ways, but it is opening us up to a more primitive aspect of ourselves when our more human part of our brain, our more intellectual, our newer part of our brain, needs to take a back seat so that we can go into our more mammalian, primitive brain. And so, because we're becoming more like a mammal, we don't really want bright lights. We don't want people talking to us a lot and asking us lots of questions and making us think. We want to go into a more animal, primitive state, and we may even make primitive noises. So for some women to go into this animal state, they need to be like many animals who give birth on their own in quite a dark space often. Although not all women want to be alone, many women want to have one person with them, at least, maybe more, where they can feel safe, but people that they feel safe with, that's quite important. So it could be their partner, but it might be somebody else. It could be a man, but not necessarily. Michel Odent actually questioned a lot the kind of almost the pressure to have a male partner at birth, because he said it's not suitable for every man to be there, and not every man wants to be there, and that energy could be unhelpful. The ancient Chinese actually went even further, and in the weeks leading up to birth, the woman would live separately from her male partner and would only be surrounded by feminine energy. I think the answer is a bit in between the two, because I've also worked with many couples, and the male partner, has been very supportive and has wanted to be there. But I also equally think it's important not to force the male partner to be there, because if he's feeling stressed, then the woman's going to pick up on that stress, and stress actually blocks the release of oxytocin. So I talked about safety and love, but also absence of stress, a calm environment where the woman can really go into whatever she needs to go into, and then that the hormone oxytocin can increase. And that actually is also a natural painkiller, because sometimes people feel that birth either involves pain, or we should be able to breathe our way through it, and neither are really quite true. Often there is some kind of pain or discomfort, but it's not a pathological pain. It's really our body opening up in ways that it's not done before. And often it's a message for our body to do something different, to change position, to become more relaxed. On rare occasions, it could be a sign of something not going as it should. But in most cases, it's a simple message to pay more attention to our body, to do something different, to be more relaxed, to ask for more love. And touch is a very powerful way also of relaxing, and touch in itself actually also increases the release of oxytocin, the love hormone. And a famous Japanese Shiatsu teacher of the last century, Namikoshi, said the heart of Shiatsu is mother's love. And that's what a mother really needs during her birthing, to feel loved. And if she feels loved, she can love her baby. So in terms of Chinese medicine, I've already mentioned that the girdle vessel is one of the most powerful ways to support these energies. So in terms of Chinese medicine, they didn't know about oxytocin, but they felt female energy was important. But they considered that pregnancy is a very yin state. So yin is the coolness. It's related to the season of winter, of an inward energy, of rest and calm. And that's ideally how the woman is going to be for most of her pregnancy. But I do sometimes get women that feel, oh, if I'm not calm all the time, that's really bad for my baby. And I say, no, that's not the case. Babies are here also to learn about life, and stress is part of life. So stress in small amounts is fine, as long as you can have the balance with periods of calm, because actually pregnancy and even birth can involve some levels of stress or the unknown or anxiety. And it's just having tools to work through this stress to come to places of more relaxation. And so stress and agitation and fear even is often when the water is out of balance, we say, because in Chinese medicine, the water energy is very much related to kidneys. And in Chinese medicine, the kidneys are also related to the adrenal glands, which we know get activated when there's a lot of stress. So it's really about calming and nourishing the kidneys. I want to go back a bit to pregnancy being the yin phase, because in pregnancy, water and kidneys, we have more water in our body. A woman has more water than at any other time in her life. Now, water for the Chinese is not just, is all kinds of fluid. So it's the water of the amniotic sac in which the baby is, but it's also the water, the fluid of blood, because in pregnancy we have 30 to 40% more blood volume, and most of this blood is circulating in our womb, circulating in the placenta, and coming to nourish the baby, and obviously circulating within the baby. So there's more blood. So a woman's giving her blood and her fluids and her essence. Now, kidneys regulate the water, but they also store the essence. Essence is this energy which we could see as being our DNA. It's transmitted at conception and it determines our growth and our development. And for the ancient Chinese, it's always being modified by our interaction with the world outside us, like our genome is influenced, and that's the epigenome. So it's always being modified. But we can't create more of it. We can't change our basic DNA, but we can change the quality of it. And this is an energy that we're also a mother is giving to her baby, and that she'll continue to give to her baby during birth, but also afterwards. So essence needs to be supported, and essence is also stored in the kidneys, and it's a yin energy, and is affected adversely by stress, like the kidneys and like water. So ideally before birth, the woman needs to have a strong yin energy, strong energy in her kidneys, be well rested. So stress adversely affects, but also too much activity and not enough rest, because water is more yin. It's the season of winter. And in birth, we're going to have the movement of the baby from inside the body to outside the body. And this is a movement like in spring, in the outer seasons. And in spring, a shoot pushes through the earth, or shoots push through the earth. So in the outer season, the wood energy moves up. But in birth, it's more about moving down, because the baby needs to come down through the perineum. It's up in the mother's body, it needs to come down and out. But it's still that movement of wood, which is a movement of yang energy. And the movement of wood needs to build through birth to culminate in giving birth to the baby, the final release of the baby at the end of labour. And it also does need to be there to support the delivery of the placenta as well, the wood, but in a more gentle way. But in order to have a strong movement of wood, you need to have first good support of the yin. So if you think about plants in the soil, they need water, they need moisture to grow. And so to give birth, we need the water, we need the moisture, we need the yin, we need the rest, all of this to support the movement of wood. how do we do this? We can work with lots of things. We can work with the kidneys, are very related to the water energy, and wood energy is regulated by in the 12 meridian systems by the gallbladder and the liver, which is the liver helps to move the blood, move the fluids around the body, helps to bring heat and warmth. And gallbladder is an more important organ in Chinese medicine than in modern medicine. And there it's more considered like the general that kind of regulates this whole movement of blood energy around the body and ensure free flow and circulation and have an overview and a vision of everything that's going on. So you can work with kidney meridians and gallbladder and liver, but the girdle vessel itself has all these energies within it. So in the girdle vessel picture, you can see that its origin is between the second and the third lumbar vertebrae, the gate of life. It's a point called Ming Men in Chinese. It's on the fourth point on the governing vessel between the second and third lumbar vertebrae. It's considered the origin of all energies, and it's shared by the governing vessel, which is one of the core vessels regulating all the yang in the body, and the penetrating vessel, which regulates the blood and a lot of the yin in the body. So it's a meeting point, an origin point. And then each side, you've actually got points on the bladder meridian that connect to the kidneys. So it nourishes the kidneys. And this lumbar area, the lower back area in pregnancy, can often be weak due to poor posture. So it's really helpful to support women either with warmth or with touch or through correcting posture to bring more energy into this area. So along with appropriate rest and relaxation and lack of stress or tools to cope with stress, we can also support this whole area and work these points through touch. But then the girdle vessel also has more water points. Bladder is the paired meridian with the kidneys. So the points in the sacrum are points on the bladder meridian, and that helps bring flow and movement into the pelvis. And often in pregnancy, women are sat more leaning back. So the baby tends to put pressure on their lower back and block the flow, not only of energy, but of blood and lymph, and actually create a lot of tension and discomfort for the mother. So when we do the movements, we'll do a lot more forward leaning positions, which helps to take the weight of the baby off the lower back. And so relieves pain for the mother. So pain sometimes in birth can be simply because of the position that the baby's creating pressure on the lower back. But also it's good for the baby because the baby has more space. If the mother's leaning forward, the baby can move more easily, and that will help to facilitate its movement out of the mother's body. And it's also going to block the energy. So working these points, but in a forward leaning position. And then the other points, important points on the girdle vessel are gallbladder 27 and 28, just in front of the anterior superior iliac spine. You'll feel them if you lean slightly forwards and feel the bone that's most forward and just come in under a bit. And that's gallbladder 27 and 28. They're just 2 points close together, half a thumb width apart. So that's gallbladder energy, that's the wood energy. It's supported by the watery points, and then the wood energy can flow in the body, like with a plant. And then there's also another wood point, which is on the liver meridian, the tip of the 11th rib, liver 13. And that's a really powerful point for helping nourish the blood. So it's actually also related to the spleen meridian and earth. Earth is the element that holds all the other elements together, spring, summer, autumn, winter. Earth is the center and is the earth. And earth helps to regulate rhythms. And rhythms is also another important aspect of birth because there are lots of different rhythms. Just before I started recording, we were talking about how spring can have lots of different rhythms. Spring is the energy of wood, and it can be a bit stop-start or all in a sudden. And birth also can, for some women, it's all over in 45 minutes. It's like quite a dynamic movement of wood. And for others, it's much more a bit of movement, then back to the water, out to the wood. And so it's really important to help the mother find her center within all of this and find her own rhythm and not feel pressurized by anybody else's rhythm, because it's her rhythm, and not to feel, oh, my birth is too long or too short. It's just the birth that's the right amount of time for you. So that's really important, the rhythm and the earth that holds everything together. So this is really why just simply working the girdle vessel is really powerful, because it links these core energies together. And of course, this is the main area in the body that is actually physically going to open. And then, because it's the center of the body, it also supports the opening of the heart and the arms and the spiritual aspect, the Shen, the heart, the opening in energetically into space. So I think I've said all I've wanted to for the moment about the theory. Just to say, I suppose, although I'm focusing on birth, these energies can become blocked during birth, especially if the woman needs to have her baby pulled out by perhaps forceps or ventouse, then that's potentially can block the flow in her. And if she has a cesarean, then that's actually cutting all the way across the girdle vessel at the front. With a cesarean, most women have an epidural, so it also blocks at the back. So after a cesarean, obviously not immediately after, waiting for the mother to recover, but then you may well find that energy is blocked here. And doing some of these movements that I'm going to show you now that are also helpful for birth can help to free energies that may have become blocked during birth. So I think I mentioned that birth is a gateway of transformation. It's an opportunity to release not only the baby, but anything, any past patterns that no longer serve you, any traumas that could be related to sex or even the way that you were born, or menstrual patterns. It can be a really big clearing that helps to release a lot of other things, not only your baby. But if energies become blocked, then it's important to understand how they've become blocked and enable them to flow, because otherwise that other issues will be created in the future after birth. And that birth is also opening the girdle vessel, is releasing something precious of yourself out into the world. So it could be releasing something you no longer need, but it could also be expressing a new aspect of your being. So again, these exercises and visualizations may be able to help you if you're wanting to either express your sexuality differently or clear things from the menstrual cycle, but also bringing a new aspect of yourself into being. And so I have an affirmation for birth, but also for the girdle vessel. I open fully to release the most intimate and precious part of my being. So this could be your baby in birth, but it could be another creation, into opening up to releasing something else of you into the world. And so now we're going to do some movements. So I invite you to take a moment, maybe just pause with what I say, reflect if you have any questions, maybe reflecting if that resonates for you, either with menstrual cycle or sexuality, or with how you've given birth, if you feel there's any energies that still need clearing, or if there's aspects of yourself that are longing to, aspects of yourself that are longing to express themselves, then maybe that's what's needing to come through. So when you've paused, the next phase that we're going to do is to stand and to do some movements for the girdle vessel, which can be helpful during birth, but also in these other situations that I've described. So now I'm standing, and this black cloth that I have is to give you an idea of the size of the girdle vessel before we start doing the exercises. So it's really coming from all the way around the ribs, but it also should be also under in the perineum as well. So it's really like a girdle that wraps around. And so, first of all, as I've said, we need to nourish the yin. So you might just want to place a hand on your lumbar spine and also one hand just below your navel. And just allow yourself to close your eyes and relax into the yin. And breathing, just bringing your breath down into your lower back and below your navel. Breathe in slowly and deeply. Breathe out slowly and deeply and feel the contraction of your pelvic floor. Feel the movement through your nose, through your lungs and heart, and into your abdomen. Also feel the grounding of your feet and the connection into kidney 1. Kidney 1 is just on the ball of the foot. It's the most yin point of the kidney meridian, the most yin point in the body, in fact, and it connects us to the earth, to the resources of the earth. And so it's important, even during birth, which is the most opening and yang time in a woman's life, that there is this rhythm, this movement where there's relaxation and we're going more inwards, more into the yin, more into the water. And then there's because we have this movement to water, we then have the impetus for movement. So now we've begun relaxing, we can all now start moving, but moving quite gently, just to feel a gentle flow within the girdle vessel. Having your hands on your hips, but touching these points, gallbladder 27 and 28. You might even want to do like a figure of 8 on its side, so that the center is connecting back with your midline, with the gate of life, back, Ning Men, but also there's one at the front below the navel. And then at some point, you might just change the direction to the other direction. But remembering that if you're pregnant, especially heavily pregnant, you might find this movement actually better to do slightly leaning forwards. So you could have your hands on a wall or have your hands on the back of a chair or a settee. So you can really do this while you're taking the weight off your lower back. And then you'll feel your baby moving forwards. Even if you're not pregnant, sometimes it's helpful to do this slightly leaning forward, especially if you've been sitting in a chair for a long time, to really allow this energy to circulate. And then you might even, especially if you're leaning against something, be able to be quite relaxed while also moving, because it's all about the balance between the water and the wood, the yin and the yang. The yang can't be strong if the yin is weak. And that's why women can get really tired in birth, and we can get tired in life because we don't rest enough and nourish. So that resting part of standing, even just standing up and relaxing, or just being a bit bent forward as much as possible, and just find much more slowness. But then in birth, as in life, then you feel the energy rising with the spring, and you might want to do more active movements. So more active, you can swing around your feet, but you can involve your arms as well, because the girdle vessel actually regulates our legs because of our connection through our legs. But by moving the pelvis, we also move the shoulders and the jaw. We're going to focus on the jaw in the breathing exercises, but the jaw is very connected with both the shoulders and the hips. So move your arms as well. That's still linked to girdle vessel. If you know other extraordinary vessels, it's also working a bit more with the linking vessels, the yin and the yang. So doing this movement, and if you're pregnant, this is great for preparing for birth, both you and your baby. If you're not pregnant, it's a good way of just letting energy flow. You might want to focus on anything you need to release. Now, if you're not pregnant, you can do it even more vigorously. You'll see why it doesn't work if you're pregnant when I show it, where you can actually lift one leg and then bring your arms the other way. Obviously, if you're pregnant, that's going to squash your baby, so it's not very good. But what you can do if you're pregnant is visualize this. You don't have to physically do the exercise. Research has actually shown even visualizing doing an exercise has some of the benefits, brings some of the benefits. So if you're really tired during birth, you can visualize yourself doing lots of vigorous things, and that can help your energy flow. And if you're not pregnant, you can really, it's always important though to remember your rhythm. So it could be really and relaxing your jaw and quite vigorous, or it could be much more smooth and soft. But then it's good to come back gradually to the more gentle movement. But then it's also good to come back to centering, to walking, to your connection with the earth. There's other kidney points in the foot. It's also stamping a bit on your kidneys, kidney 1, but also on your heel. And these points really help to calm the nervous system, bring a centering quality. And you could also, there's an important point on the inside of the eye, the inside corner of the eye, bladder 1. So there's bladder and kidney points as you do this. If you know this move, these vessels, is that they're actually the stepping vessels. You may or may not know these vessels. It's just walking, and walking resets an awful lot. So obviously, if you're pregnant, you can do this. And women during birth often do find that walking, just walking, and in their own rhythm, helps them connect with their rhythm that they need for birth, and to just reset and to just feel calm and safe. Walking with their partner, they may also feel loved. So now we'll do the other side if you're not pregnant. So again, you might want to start quite gently. You might want to focus on what you want to release. You might open your jaw. Then you might go more vigorously, but really respect your rhythm. And how long you want to do it for. You may get tired at some point. And then when you want to slow down, it can be quite good to come through the more gentle movements and then come to maybe standing also. Sometimes just being still, closing your eyes and letting your body internally feel all of that. That's also quite important during birth. Sometimes just being still and being relaxed. But also it could be through the stepping movements. So whatever you feel you need to do to just reset from that movement. And even with the stepping, it could be probably not when you're heavily pregnant, but it could be quite fast or it could be quite slow. But you may just feel, oh, I just need to close my eyes and stand. So women can actually give birth standing by going more into this kind of standing squat often. And And this is great because you get this opening in the lower back, you get pressure off the lower back, you're opening the girdle vessel. And in many traditional societies, including ancient China, the midwife would come with a rope and they'd hang it over a beam in the house. And then the woman would be able to hold onto the rope. And this is a really nice way of getting this sort of yang energy that can slowly move down, which can help the baby descend through the birth canal and maybe even give birth in this position. Many modern birthing rooms, I can't remember if Michel Odon's Salle Sauvage in the Pithiviers Hospital in France, where he pioneered a lot of his work, had something to hold on to a rope. But I know a lot of places that do now. And then you can really bear down and even swing a bit. If you imagine there's a rope up here and I can swing, so that's really helping my girdle vessel, but it's helping this yang energy go down because the yang, the wood, needs to go down to the earth for the baby to come out. So I've actually worked with a number of women who have given birth standing. You obviously need someone there to catch your baby, or you can't really catch it if you're holding on to the rope, but if you're supporting yourself, you might even be able to hold your own baby. And it's important to be comfortable. It's important to feel relaxed in this position. I'm going to go down through positions because now I'm going to get my ball. The ball obviously is not so much for when you want to, you're ready for the baby to come out, but in earlier stages of labour, but also in the last weeks of pregnancy, just simply sitting on a ball can be helpful because it's much better than sitting on a chair because it allows the energy to flow more. And also on a ball, you could be leaning forwards, you could be leaning over the back of a settee or against the table, and you've got this forward leaning position, and then you can just rock and sway. And I like the balls because they bring quite a watery feeling, I find, quite a fluid feeling. So especially if a woman's a bit tired and she just needs to sit down, it's much better to sit on this ball because you're not blocking the flow in the sacrum nor in the perineum in the same kind of way. And you could maybe even rock forwards and back a little bit. In some birthing rooms, they have balls, but they used to a lot more have rocking chairs, and that rocking movement is a very lovely way of helping energies to flow. So rocking and circling, whatever feels good. And again, you have your arms up if that felt it helped the energy to move more down. So gradually coming down through to all fours. So this is, again, forward leaning position. You can go just forwards and backwards if you want, and that can really create space in the lower back. But also, you might want to bring one leg up. So I'll bring my leg up closer so you can see. So as long as this feels comfortable in your pelvis, it's a really good way of getting energy to flow in the girdle vessel. So you'd also want to do the other leg. You can go forwards and backwards, but you could also circle. So this has got a bit more downward movement than just the leaning on the ball. You could even be a bit more upright on the ball, more lunging. So you could lean more flat on the ball or more lunging, which is a way of really sending the energy down, releasing out through the girdle vessel. but you could also just be circling. And again, a lot of women find that this is quite a good, all these positions are good for all stages of birth, but this one's also good for the end of labour, for actually when the baby comes, and the woman could take the baby herself in this position. Have her hand here and feel her baby's head, and then greet her baby, be the first one to touch her baby. She could also just be circling. But of course, if it's more for birth, it would be this downward movement, probably should be more still and bearing down to the earth, bringing her baby out. So another position, which also, this is one of the most traditional positions for giving birth, and that's squatting. But many women these days don't find squatting so easy. So it's good to just do a kind of rocking movement. Obviously, if you have knee problems or your pelvic floor's weak or you have circulation problems, then it might not be a comfortable position, or issues with the pelvis. But it's worth trying. And I find for many women, they really enjoy this position, especially if they practice it. Practicing it in water is good. It's not as demanding, and so if women are planning to birth in water, this can be a good position. And then eventually you might want to, so you can have your hands on the floor to start with to support you, but then eventually you could take your hands away, so then they'd be free to catch your baby, or you could even go into a full squat. So the first one, I'm just rocking from side to side, which is good, but then you could put your feet down. And then also traditionally, the midwives would have the rope, and I've seen it in many birthing rooms, you can hold the rope, and then this brings all the energy down, helps the yang energy to flow, helps the wood to flow, and then you can bring your baby out in the squatting position, which is really nice because you can see your baby coming out, you can feel your baby coming out, and as the head is crowning, you can really feel that you actually don't need to push. Your body position allows the baby out, so you can really relax and release that which is most precious in your body in a very gentle, loving, safe way. So now I think we're going to go into more of the visualization part and the breathing part. So take a moment to find a comfortable position, but you could do it in any of the positions that we've already done. So you could sit on the ball. In fact, maybe I'll sit on the ball to end. But you could sit on the floor. And maybe just take a moment to close your eyes and let your body absorb the power of the movement. Feel what's going on inside. Become aware of your breath, your in-breath and your out-breath. Become aware of your jaw. Is it relaxed? Or is it tense? If it's tense, try to relax it some more. And see if you can notice the connection between your jaw and your pelvis. As your jaw relaxes, can you feel your pelvis relax? I have some sounds which I love teaching because there are sounds. If you do an ah, that helps your throat and your jaw to open, and then you can feel your perineum and your cervix open. But I worked with a yoga teacher when I was pregnant who got us to do Sanskrit sounds, and they're sounds which are universal for, or pretty much universal for bar. Bar. So if you say bar, bar, baba, baby, bar, bar, and then pa, 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 pa. That's a slightly different R, but feel always the relationship between your jaw, throat, and pelvis. Pa, pa, papa, pa, pa. Really open your throat. Father, papa. And ma, mama, ma, ma. Mother, mama, mamma, ma, ma. Lovely. And then put them together in a lovely chant, which I will do with you. And we'll repeat it a few times and see if you can feel the vibration, not only in your throat, but all the way through your body down into your girdle vessel and your perineum. And if you're pregnant, into your baby. Ba ba pa pa ma, 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 ba ba pa pa ma. It's good to have a bit of silence and maybe closing your eyes to really feel that vibration in your body. And I've taught that to many women and their partners, and they found it really helpful during their birth. And it reminds them to include their baby and not get caught up in when is the next contraction, how much am I opening, but how is my baby? How is my baby, my baba? And another powerful image I find is the image of the wave rising and falling in your body. And then you can feel that energy of surrender, because birth teaches a powerful lesson of surrender. I surrender to the unknown and trust in the process of life, letting it wash through me. I surrender. And so, with your eyes closed or open, begin to feel your breath like a wave, rising and falling within your body. Maybe initially you might want to feel the rise of the wave with the in-breath and the fall of the wave with the out-breath. But your wave may become faster or slower, and so it doesn't have to be coordinated with your in and out breath. So just breathing how you feel, but be aware of the wave rising and falling through your whole body. And to start with, this wave may be quite gentle, but then it gradually increases and you feel the power of this wave surging, and then you feel it relaxing, and then you can just rest as the wave disappears and the water becomes calm. And then the wave rises again. And it's as intense as you want to make it. If you're in labour, it's following the movement of the contractions, which intensify and then relax. And you can imagine the wave building as your contractions build to their peak, and then falling away as your contraction fades. Just allowing this wave to become as intense as you feel. And then rest in the calm as the wave descends and disappears into the ocean. Maybe you just want to rest in the ocean, or maybe you want to be more in the wave. Feeling how the water can be very yin and peaceful. But as the wave rises, it becomes more yang and can really move the wood. And as you feel the wave rising and falling, you can also repeat the words, "I open to fully release the most intimate and precious part of my being into the world." I surrender. I surrender to the unknown, and I trust in the process of life washing through me. So stay with this wave, all these affirmations, as long as you feel you need. And when you feel ready to come out of the ocean, let yourself be gently washed up onto the stillness of the shore. So thank you for sharing this time with me. And I'd love to hear how you found this presentation. And maybe how you found it changed or helped you release something in your body. And if you have given birth, maybe you were able to release something that didn't fully release if you needed to. Thank you.